morning. Question for you. Has anybody ever wronged you? Maybe it was a mentor who took your idea and ran with it as if it was his own. Or maybe it was a business deal, or maybe a spouse, or a family member, or a church. We've all been wronged in some way or another. But can I tell you this morning that if you have unforgiveness in your life, it will hinder you from where you are headed. It will be a roadblock in the way from the future that you truly want. Let me explain, and I'll try not to name names, but we've all been wronged, right? I mean, you probably, when I mentioned the word forgiveness, unforgiveness, or wronged, a name popped in your mind. Somebody that did you wrong, somebody that, hurt you. And all of a sudden those feelings well right back up in your spirit, right? They do. And that's okay because, emotions are a real thing. When emotions help fashion who we are. I'm not saying today that you just go, hey, rug, let's sweep it under. No. But today I want to talk to you about the power of forgiveness. Number one, two wrongs don't make a right. Just because you've been done wrong does not give you the excuse, give you the right, give you the ability to reciprocate in like fashion. In fact, if you're a believer, Jesus is very specific that says if you don't forgive others, he cannot forgive you. His Father in heaven cannot forgive you. He also goes on to say that in the measure that you forgive, you will be forgiven. Now think about that for a minute. Maybe you lived a perfect life. Yeah, right. None of us have. And you hold a great deal of unforgiveness in your heart and you go before the master and you find out that your life wasn't as perfect as you thought it was. And all of a sudden, the measure by which you forgave, oh wait, you didn't, is the measure by which he will oh wait. Now, if you're not a believer, that's fine. You can believe in the universe, you can believe in karma, whatever it is. But I will tell you this, more times than not, your unforgiveness is hindering you rather than hurting the other person. Actually, chances are they have no clue that you're harboring this level of unforgiveness. They may know they've done you wrong, but they've moved on. And one person once told me that harboring unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Now think about that for a moment. Drinking poison and expecting the other person to die is insane. But yet we do it all the time. Another thing that happens, and I've seen this in so many organizations, somebody gets wronged and they tell everybody. And the gossip chain begins. And the damage that's done is done on a huge scale. And more times than not, rarely affects the offender. It just creates this cancer everywhere but the place where it was originated, where the hurt took place. It could be a church, it could be a boss, it could be a business partner. We've all been wronged, okay? Welcome to the club. If you're breathing, chances are you've been wronged. You're like, well, David, that's all well and good. That's great. Wonderful. Now I know what I need to do, but there's absolutely no way I can do it. I feel this every time the name is mentioned or every time I'm in the grocery store. Those of you in small towns, you know how this is. You go to Walmart, you're around the corner, and there's the person that offended you. There's the person that wronged you. And you're just like, And like my wife likes to say, you kind of have this feeling you want to punch him in the throat, right? Absolutely, Daniel. Forgiving our own self is sometimes the hardest. But let me tell you, as you move through this life, you have got to learn to forgive. Unforgiveness is not just a roadblock, not just a bump in the road, but it can stifle any forward momentum that you have at all. In fact, and I'll go to what Daniel talked about, If you are unable to forgive yourself, you will feel like that you are unworthy for anything better than what you have right now, or not even feel worthy for how far you've come. So, let me give you some very practical advice on how to forgive. Practical advice. Number one, and I want you to understand this, it takes time. Your emotions are a real thing. Forgiveness is a decision, it is not a feeling. Just like love is a decision, it's not a feeling. When you watch an older couple who've been married for a long time and one of them is in the hospital, that other one's sitting there holding his hand, they have made a decision to love one another. They may not feel it in the moment. It may be really, really hard at that moment, but they have made a decision that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the other person's needs ahead of my own. Forgiveness operates in the same way. You have to understand that it's a decision, not a feeling. Let's be honest. We all feel like we're not in the mood to love today, right? But we stick to the commitment because we've made a decision. Every day you may have to make a decision that today I forgive that individual. Today I forgive that entity. Today I forgive. And you may have to clench your teeth while you say it, but make that conscious decision. I would say do it within the first 15 minutes of waking up, because you know as well as I do, when you wake up, there are certain things that hit your brain. And a lot of times it's that wrongdoing. It's that wrongdoing that's in your brain. And all of a sudden your entire day is set. Your entire agenda is set by that wrongdoing. But you can take a conscious thought and verbalize, today I forgive X. Number two, forgiveness does not necessarily mean forget. Forgiveness is choosing not to hold the offense against the individual. But it doesn't mean you have to get into business with them again. It doesn't mean you have to let them into your life. It doesn't mean, but what it does mean is that you have chosen not to hold their offense against them. You see, people seem to think, I hate the term forgive and forget, because that almost sounds like I'm going to open myself up to let them hurt me again. I'm going to open myself up for them to wrong me again. I'm going to open myself up. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you have chosen not to hold the offense against them, and you're moving on with your life in the direction that you were supposed to go, in this direction that God has got for you, in the direction that you have. You know, I've got a whiteboard over here with all my dreams and aspirations and goals, and can I tell you that every one of them will be hindered if I am unable to forgive the people who've wronged me. But I will tell you this, I'm not going in business with those people again. I'm going to tell you this, I'm not going to let them into my life in a great measure. Well, what if they're family members, David? Okay, let's take that for a minute. Maybe you limit access. Maybe, I love using this joke, but I say, sometimes things like Thanksgiving, the one time a year to see those people that you can only stand to see one time a year, that's because you have decided to limit access. And third, and I'm going to get to what Daniel brought up a minute ago, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. When you realize that the past is cemented in concrete, you're not going to go back and change it. If it was great, wonderful. If it was bad, sorry. There's no changing what was in the past. The future, it's a vapor. We don't know what the future holds. We can make plans. We can set agendas, we can set goals, but until the future gets here and becomes the present, it's really unknown. All we have is the present. And if you make those conscious decisions, the conscious choice to forgive in the present, then you can work through all of the things. Because let me tell you something. I have let unforgiveness in my heart stifle my own personal growth. I even contend today for unforgiveness of my own self for past actions. Why? Because we have great memories. The decision to forgive does not give one amnesia, even when it's forgiving yourself. And guess what? I love me. You love you. But you don't forget the bad. And for whatever reason, the bad that you have done has a stronger emotional tie in your memory than the good that you've done. So you may have to forgive yourself each and every morning in that 15 minutes and say, David, I forgive myself for my past mistakes. Lord, help me to move on beyond them and to not make them again. If I've hurt anybody, Lord, reveal them to me so that I can go make amends, right? If you do these things on a daily basis, you will be amazed at how different your life is. You'll be amazed at how much quicker you move towards your goals because you have removed a major roadblock to your future. But it all starts with a decision. And that decision is however I've been wronged, even if I wrong my own self, I forgive. God bless you guys.